Before I give you my impressions of Anthem's open demo last weekend, I would like to reiterate that this was a demo test and not a beta test, and as such, the footage you will be seeing is, for the most part, what Anthem will look, sound, and feel like on release, and my opinions will be based accordingly. Welcome to Anthem, everybody. Electronic Arts' bright, beautiful new space shooter set to release on February 22nd for all you bums that didn't pay EA enough money to get access a week earlier. Now, you're probably coming from one of two different camps if you're watching this video. Either you're a Destiny fan or a fan of open world shooters in general and want to see if Anthem can live up to its predecessors. Or you want to see how EA's new cash grab is going to crash and burn. I will admit that I was in the later camp before I started playing, but Anthem is starting to bring me around after this weekend, so hear me out. In Anthem, the gameplay is split up into two parts, the first of which takes place in the home base area called Fort Tarsus, which will serve as the main mission hub of the game. Here, you will play from a first-person perspective and chat with NPCs in between missions as you head to pick up new ones. This part of the game was the most restricted in the demo because EA probably doesn't want to give too much of the story away for free. Though it is understandable, I would have liked to see a little bit more interaction with the NPCs here. As of right now, it feels immersive only on a surface level, with NPCs being well animated but not communicating with each other. To some, this may be more of a gripe than others. However, as it stands, Fort Tarsus serves its purpose and remains simply a staging point for the more engaging second mode of Anthem. Before we get there, though, the main spot you will be returning to before venturing out into the wider world is called the Forge. Here, you will be able to customize your Javelin, or, as I like to call it, your very own Iron Man suit. There are four main types, ranging from the tanky Colossus to the more agile Interceptor. With weapons staying consistent across all classes, the main playstyle changes come from three ability slots that differ for each Javelin. For example, the Storm Javelin, Anthem's mage variant, can hurl fireballs and call down lightning in addition to their typical handheld arsenal. Whereas the Ranger makes use of grenades and rockets to deal damage to multiple foes at once. Overall, the classes do feel fun to play, but aren't as distinct in their roles as classes from other games. Customization will be a primary way to distinguish yourself, as there are a multitude of options including parts and paint jobs for each Javelin. As an aside, the inevitable microtransaction currency can only be used to purchase customization options for now, though prices are sure to vary. After you're done checking out your suit, you'll likely be diving straight into the combat portion of Anthem. Immediately when you jump in, you'll notice just how beautiful this game really is. The vistas of Anthem are truly some of the nicest looking you can see in a modern game. The pretty graphics are complemented by the flight mechanics too, which although they are a bit janky at first, you can learn to navigate around the game world fairly quickly. Most of the time, you'll be taking in these aspects of the game as you travel between objectives, which is where the combat occurs. The bulk of the game consists of combat centered around completing various objectives. The two major types of scenarios in which you'll be completing these objectives are longer, one-off missions, which end when the final objective is completed, or a free roam mode, which contains various smaller missions within a semi-open world environment. The objectives themselves include clearing out all of the enemies in an area, gathering certain items, defeating bosses, and so on. Destiny players will feel right at home here, I think. As for the actual combat, it is reminiscent of developer BioWare's most recent outing, Mass Effect Andromeda, and considering the combat was the best part of that game, it's not actually a bad thing. Here, classic third-person run-and-gun gameplay is combined with various sets of abilities that are customizable and unique to each Javelin. The power of sound design really comes into play here, as the weapons and abilities really sound impactful and dangerous, giving the combat a more gratifying feeling. The real depth of Anthem's combat reveals itself with the addition of a combo system, where specific abilities can be chained together to create massive amounts of damage. I feel that this system is really what is going to keep players in the flow of the game, as they try to improve their skills and maintain a consistent DPS through managing abilities and their respective cooldowns. On the other hand, the enemies leave a bit to be desired. There is a bit of variety with lower tier unshielded goons, faster hunter-killer types, and slower shielded enemies, but nothing you haven't seen before. After just a few hours, I knew all the quirks of the enemies, with nothing really new being thrown at me. It would have been interesting to see some enemy types which really capitalized on making use of verticality or force you to take higher ground, because as of right now, you're mostly going to be using your jetpacks to run away so you can regen health. I will say that the one boss fight that was in the demo was fairly fun to play and adapt to, but even that fight was bogged down by repetitive stages at points. Before I sum up my thoughts, I feel that it is very important to bring up the connection issues I had with Anthem. I understand that these issues vary between players, as I have played many games which ran smoothly for me, but were choppy for others. With the type of game Anthem is, though, it is imperative that the game runs well, as the entire appeal of the game is grinding through online content. I had a few crashes on startup, as well as an abrupt one mid-game that forced me to quit a mission in progress. Not a good sign from a game this close to launch. I think that players that are familiar with Destiny and Warframe and are a part of the passionate fan bases that those games have will have a ton of fun if they decide to pick up Anthem. For players who dislike or haven't gotten the chance to try those games, Anthem could be worth a shot, though I don't know if it will change many minds, because it shares a lot of the same parts that have made the other looter shooters so popular. And you might have noticed by now that I haven't really mentioned my thoughts on the story of Anthem yet. That's because, aside from a few cutscenes and missions with two different characters, there wasn't really that much revealed in the demo. As I stated before with the NPCs in Fort Tarsis, it is understandable that EA and BioWare would want to contain the story to the main game to minimize leaks and speculation, and focus on mechanics for the demo, but it also can lead to speculation that the story isn't what the publishers and developers think is going to sell Anthem. On this front, I'm going to have to agree. I would be cautious about coming into Anthem expecting an engaging narrative and leave that to single-player games, which are generally more well-suited to the task. However, if you are a fan of getting 3 of your friends together and blowing up some enemies, you might just find one of your favorite co-op experiences of the year in Anthem.